tweeting, "Not gonna lie, NFL, this is bull." And Chase Claypool adds, "What a joke." Max Kellerman, the undefeated Steelers, their schedules moved around again. Tell me this, is this a big deal for this team? Could it affect them in the long term?
It's a very big deal for the Steelers and the NFL, by the way. Look, there's no two ways about this. This is an undefeated team in Week 12. I know it's COVID. This is COVID. Everyone has to make compromises. I get it. We all get it. Steelers don't have to be happy about the fact that the other teams are getting COVID, even if they're being careful. But still, hey, the Steelers are like, we're good. We're ready to play. We keep getting moved. They lose their bye. Now they lose their mini bye, right? And they're an undefeated team in Week 12. Like, by this time in the season, were all the Dolphins set 1972 games significant? If one got postponed, if by this time in the season, 07 Patriots, are they significant? Yeah, I mean, you could say, hey, the Giants, the year they lost to the Ravens in the Super Bowl, were 10-0, and those games turned out weren't that significant, but you didn't know that at the time. This is an undefeated team in Week 12. Now, they faced a soft schedule, but we keep sleeping on the Steelers. People don't believe in the Steelers. Stephen A., right now they need that bye. You know why they need the bye or the mini bye right now? It's not just Baltimore, which is a tough game. It's the Colts and the Bills coming up. You got the Bills and the Colts coming. This is the tough part of your schedule, and you've been playing all these consecutive weeks without rest. So you have that. You have the league losing an undefeated team ready to go in Week 12. By the way, you lose the rivalry game, by far the best game on Thanksgiving in prime time. Yeah, it's a big deal.
First of all, a couple of things just for correction. It's not your fault. You probably don't have the schedule in front of you. I do. After this Ravens game, the Steelers played the Washington football team. It's not the Colts and the Buffalo Bills. It's the Washington football team, which one could easily argue is a bye week or pretty damn close to it. And not quite a bye week because Washington's on the.
Oh, I didn't mean
they're not the Jacksonville They're not the Jacksonville Jaguars. Say what?
I didn't mean. Yeah. Stephen A., I didn't mean. I'm sorry. I didn't mean their next two consecutive games. I mean that's coming up on the schedule now. It's a tough part of their schedule. Sorry. Yeah.
Got you. Understood. No big deal. No big deal. But here's the deal. It's not a big deal. They need to stop. They listen, I love my Steelers, but they need to stop whining. And I'm certainly not accusing Mike Tomlin because he doesn't do that. He's a man and he handles the circumstances that are placed before him. And the players need to do the same. They need to stop all this stuff. First of all, I got news for you. They did have a bye week. It was Week 4. They played the Houston Texans in Week 3 on September 27th. They didn't play Week 4, and then their next game was the Philadelphia Eagles on October 11th. So what's the problem? You did, and I understand it's early in the season as opposed to late, but you did have a bye week. So stop acting like you didn't. That's number one. Number two, you're 10-0. Number three, you got a 38-year-old quarterback that's playing like an MVP. So I'm sorry, you were looking forward to playing Thursday so you could get 10 days off as opposed to playing this Sunday where you're only going to get 6 to 7 days off. Get the hell over it. I'm getting really sick and tired of NFL players complaining about stuff like that. Now, if you want to complain about the players, if you think somebody on Baltimore was irresponsible, I got all of that. I totally understand it. If you find out guys were out partying or whatever the case may be, remember when Cam Newton came down with COVID-19, he was actually going out. I think he was hanging out with Stephon Gilmore or whatever, and something had happened. But the point is that unless we have evidence that that's what happened with the Baltimore Ravens, then you just never know. Max, we go on a plane, we spraying seats and all of this other stuff. We step in the cars, Ubers or anything like that. I'm just talking about the average American person. The bottom line is you're spraying stuff, you're washing your hands, you're wearing your mask, you're doing all of these things. Why are they saying this stuff? Because stuff can remain on surfaces. Stuff could be airborne. You might be absolutely positively innocent of doing anything and still come down with COVID. The NFL is doing the best it can under these circumstances. The players had every opportunity to put themselves in a bubble kind of atmosphere. They refused to do so. So as a result, to some degree, even though the NFL is trying to be somewhat restrictive and really bring down the hammer on you, the reality is that some of the conditions simply cannot be controlled. People got to put forth their due diligence to make sure that they eradicate any circumstances that may lead to the postponement of games. Some are more successful than others. The Ravens ain't the first team that find themselves in this situation, and they will not be the last. The Steelers to react this way, it's BS. The NFL, etc., etc. Why are you pointing the finger at somebody when you can walk around next week doing absolutely nothing wrong and you could end up with COVID based on all the information that has been given to us about the potential of it being airborne, stuck on surfaces and things of that nature? It can't be controlled. And so we understand that, which is why there's such an elevated level of urgency, which you, Max, have spoken so eloquently about over the last few months, because of how dangerous the situation is and all the things that we have to deal with. For them to come down on the NFL like that, to come down on a respective team when you might not even know the details as to how they contracted the virus, I just think it's a bit insensitive. We are dealing with a once in a generation global pandemic, once in a century, for crying out loud. We're all learning as we go along. And unless you have evidence that the Baltimore Ravens were out partying, being irresponsible, engaging in stuff that they had no business engaging in, you shouldn't be coming down with them on them like this. You should be praying that all of them are okay and well enough to continue a football season.
Well, I think that was important to say, and I'm glad you said it, and I think it's true. But it doesn't change the fact that the Steelers might have feelings about it, right? But I think it's true. But the question is, it is a big deal. It's a very big deal. What you said could be true, and it's a big deal. I will say it again. People don't believe in this Steelers team, but they are undefeated. And the bye week in week 4 really hurt them. The tough part of their schedule is coming up now, and the reason you don't get a bye that early is because you don't need it yet. You need it as the wear and tear of the season continues, and you need that little break. They didn't get it, but they were supposed to have a little mini break, and they didn't get that. And they were supposed to have a primetime game, and they didn't get that. and whatever you want to say, because you're right, Stephen A., you can be very careful and still get the disease. But there have been voices in the NFL that said, hey, personal responsibility. And you could exercise excellent personal responsibility, right? You can be personally responsible and still get it. But from the Steelers' point of view, they're like, yeah, but we don't. We don't have it. But now that's 2 times that another team has. And our schedule keeps getting moved because of it. So I understand why they're upset, whether it's fair or not, or that's just for them. But I understand the feeling. And it's a big deal, especially with coming up. You're right, Washington's coming up. The defense has been playing better, by the way. But the Colts and the Bills, you circle those 2 games on the calendar and you go, those are the 2 games outside of this Ravens game that maybe could upset the apple cart here in terms of a perfect season. But you know what? They're going to get that little rest first. No, they're not. No, they're not. What if this winds up a 1-loss team and it's within a field goal against a team like the Bills or the Colts? We're going to look back at that and say, what if? But the point is, even as a story for the NFL, it's a big deal. You think during a global pandemic, all the bad news we've had, that one of the most storied franchises in football, like when you think of old school, original team, smash mouth kind of football, like you think of Green Bay and stuff like that, or the frozen tundra. You think of the Steelers and the Steel Curtain and that whole tradition. Like the Steelers are as synonymous with the NFL as any team. How about that team going undefeated? Would that be a big deal? It'd be a huge deal. And it just got harder.
You're accustomed to playing on every Sunday. You'll be playing every Sunday instead of a Thursday night game. Whoop-de-damn-do. The real people who suffer outside of, I'm talking about health issues with the Baltimore Ravens, are us. Because instead of looking forward to a smash-mouth, very competitive, respectable football game on a Thursday night for Thanksgiving with the Steelers and the Ravens, we are stuck watching the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know. I mean, that.
Come on, Stephen A. This is already kind of a depressing